Good afternoon. Good to see you.
So I'm excited to host this together with you today. I know that the general topic was March Madness, but as we had kind of chatted leading up to this, you got me so intrigued by just a broader base of conversation with it too. So I'd love to kick it off by just kind of getting or asking you, can you describe your role at General Motors to help us kind of lay the foundation of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Vice President of Marketing for two of GM's brands, Buick and GMC. Love them both equally. It's awesome. It's actually a blessing and a curse looking after two brands. Keeps me very, very busy. And then in terms of the specifics of the role, it's basically everything to do with those two brands. And it could be anything from, developing a media plan for a huge launch and developing all the creative, of course, and everything associated with that, managing agencies, etc., through to something I was doing yesterday, which was arguing with designers about what the shape of a tailpipe should look like on a model that comes in, 4 or 5 years' time. So it really switches, never a dull moment, switches from what's happening right now to what's going to happen, in years.
Great. Never a dull moment in the world we live in right now. I know that this was the starting topic of today was March Madness. You guys historically have been big supporters of the NCAA tournament. And as we know, last year was abruptly pulled out from under us. It's kind of interesting to think about that, right? It was literally that tournament was the real first kind of hit in the face that this was real. You'd share with me when we last chatted a little bit about how important last year's tournament was supposed to be as a pivotal part of the platform for a launch. Can you just start maybe there, and how quickly did you have to really react to that abrupt news, and how'd you do it?
Yeah, so it's a long-standing relationship. GM's been involved for over 50 years with the NCAA. Buick for more than a decade has been the lead brand on it, and it's a big deal. A brand like Buick, we talk about it as being our Super Bowl, which is kind of very topical right at the moment. And it really, it's 30 days of intensely being on the radar, really being in front of people. And it really is a big tentpole moment for us, for the brand. And we use it, for a lot of different things, but often we actually plan our launches around that. And, they're big deals. A car launches every 4 to 5 years. So when you're going to launch something, it is a huge deal. So we had an all-new Encore GX, first generation of that vehicle, first ever, and it was all set to go. It was all going to be over March Madness, and then at the very last minute, that all got pulled. So to answer your question, to begin with, we didn't do much, because if you think about what happened in March last year, most people kind of shut down because we're all on the stay-at-home orders, etc. So we had a couple of months, honestly, to think things through. And then we made a really big pivot, got really creative, and we actually, instead of using basketball and traditional style advertising, we did this big, I call it a stunt or an event, where we did the world's biggest tech unboxing of this vehicle and treated it like a new piece of technology. And we had a tech expert unveil the vehicle and talk us through the technology. So it worked really, really well for us. We're very happy with how it turned out.
Great. Well, let's keep our fingers and toes crossed. It looks like we have the tournament back this year, and I think that we're all hoping that with bated breath, day by day, we look at it.
Yeah.
But I think you have more planned this year. Can you take us, how is it having it back, and what do you have planned this year that you're able to share with us? I know that you don't want to give us too many sneak peeks, but
yeah, well, we've got an all-new Envision, which goes in really into the heart of the SUV market. And what we've done over the last probably 4 to 5 years at Buick is we've really transformed ourselves into an SUV range, premium SUV range. And this really is probably our most important model. So maybe we're crazy, but we're going to have another go at it. And we're going to launch a car there, and in all seriousness, we've got everything crossed, but we believe the tournament will go ahead. It will be a little bit different. Hard to know, what viewership's going to be like. One of the big things, it's going to be basically in a bubble, a bit like the NBA did on a huge scale in Indianapolis. So we're excited for that. We think there's a great opportunity. We think the viewership's going to be very, very strong. And then, one of the big things we had to rethink is our on-the-ground activations, because this really is it's much more than a broadcast opportunity. Even things like social. In 2019, the NCAA got over 5.5 billion impressions from a social perspective, which is mind-boggling. So rather than do our traditional on-the-ground activation, which is really important to us because we partner with our dealer network, the local dealer network, to really bring that to life. We do a big stand at Fan Fest. We do a great thing called the Buick Dribble, which is where we get 2,500 kids to dribble a basketball and get them active and involved. So we can't do that sort of thing. So what we've done is we're thinking things through, and we're moving all of that online, and we're going to go virtual. So we've got some really great ideas where we can get people equally engaged, we believe, but we're using technology and some of the new platforms. So we've got a really cool idea that we're sort of in the early stages of developing with TikTok. We're going to be Snapchat. We'll be over the, I'll call them the traditional social media platforms as well, like Instagram and Pinterest, etc. And then even with the Buick Dribble, we're engaging local schools and some big name basketball fans, and we're going to get all the kids involved, and they can do it at home, sort of thing. So that's probably the biggest change, to be honest, but we think it's a great platform for a car reveal. And if you haven't seen the new Buick Envision, you should check it out. Very, very cool car.
Well, I shared with you last time we talked. We are a Buick family, and you really have come a long way. I think I might have mentioned to you, I recall my dad driving a Buick sedan, and it is very different from the car that my wife drives around now. It's really sharp. Kids love it. So you guys have done some amazing work.
And we don't even do sedans now. We've, as I said, we've moved to a premium SUV lineup now.
So you just mentioned how the NCAA, first of all, decades of a relationship there, and you used the word platform. And I know that it's not just the NCAA that of a sports platform you guys use. You're very active in general. Can you just give us a little bit more context going beyond March Madness of how have you guys embraced a lot of the other leagues and sports platforms across GM? Maybe elaborate a bit more about those relationships.
Yeah, and we see live sport as a really key, critical, plank in our go-to-market strategy for Buick and GMC, General Motors more broadly. And we have seen a bit of a deterioration in viewership, but we can talk about that later. I see that as a real opportunity. But what we work to do really, really hard with these relationships and these opportunities in live sport is to do more than just the traditional television commercial or traditional broadcast. We really look to integrate ourselves, and we really we take a fan-first approach, because these people, if you use the NCAA as an example, they're affluent, they're college educated. It's a great mix of males and females. It's about 50-50. And really, they're really passionate and they're really engaged. And if you think about brands and building brands and being meaningful, passionate, engaged customers are what you want. So that's why we like to do it, and we like to try and engage with them. But on top of the NCAA that we've done in the past, or we continue to do, we also do a lot of work with the NFL. So my other brand, GMC, is the sponsor of Thursday Night Football. We're also the sponsor of the pre-game show, and we love that because we do a lot of integrations. One of the things we've done over the last season, which worked really well for us, was this idea of around town with GMC, and we get some legends from the city that the broadcast is taking place in, and we get them to talk about their experiences and what that city means to them, and what the team means to them, and what they're giving back. And they're doing it while driving around town, talking about it, their experiences in a GMC. We do a lot of integrations and things across all the different platforms, and we've done a little bit of baseball as well. But football and NCAA and basketball's the prime platform we use, and that's men and women. But we're across all the 10 kind of major tournaments, everything from the Frozen Four for hockey through to the World Series of college baseball as well too. So we do a lot in that space.
And the NCAA is such a massive platform, as you shared. Just that social engagement number is pretty mind blowing. And I'm assuming you've had to make some of the same adjustments with the way that you're utilizing the platforms with NFL and the other sports leagues that you're making now with the NCAA, with less of a fan experience, less kind of on-site activations as well, right?
Yeah. I've got to say the last 12 months we've learned a lot, and it's been very, very interesting. One of the things we did just recently, which was huge, which we did in October, and that was we introduced the Hummer EV, and that was pretty amazing. Incredible team effort across the marketing team at Buick GMC, but at GMC in that particular instance, but our agency partners in creative and in media, but also the media outlets themselves. We worked really, really closely with them, and we're able, again, I'm going to say integration a lot during this discussion, because that's really the name of the game for us. We really integrate ourselves, and a couple of examples with Hummer. We had Joe Buck in the first game of the World Series do a live throw to our reveal ad, which sort of went, it was like a roadblock type arrangement, and we took the whole pod, so it was like 2.5 minutes or so, which is things that don't happen very often, that you got on such big ticket kind of shows that we're taking up full pods and running 2.5 minute ads. We did a big Thursday night football integration, and Tony Gonzalez was the first one to kind of get up and touch the vehicle, sit in the vehicle, do all that sort of stuff too, and it worked really well for us. And then another one that I think is kind of interesting, and I guess it shows how the world's changing. We used Twitch, which is a gaming platform, and is that a live sport? Well, I think there's a lot of people on there that would argue that esports is a thing, and it's a big thing.
Real.
And again, that's another audience that traditionally we wouldn't speak to. So we did some watch parties with some of their biggest influencers. We ran a 6-minute video on there. We had, we were all over that platform, and it worked incredibly well for us too. So we adjust and pivot, and we're learning all the time, and we're always trying to do things a bit differently and get ahead of the game. And we were the first brand to ever launch a vehicle on Twitch, so that was a big deal too.
That's a really good segue into something you referenced earlier, is the deterioration of viewership, right? And so we've all seen it. Sometimes a little bit surprisingly, when we got sport back, it was interesting. There was a lot of sports taking place at the same time, but we started seeing a deterioration of viewership that I think was maybe a bit more extreme than some of us had anticipated. But certainly, I mean, media in general, but sports in particular, has become such a multi-platform experience. It'd be interesting if you can share a bit more about that approach, that balance of that broad, fast reach of the events, the live platforms, but then how you're also using that and the digital extensions and the platform extensions for that more targeted or personalized approach as well.
Yeah, so that's something that's been a huge focus over the last couple of years, to be honest. So I mentioned, there has been a bit of a deterioration in the way people, certainly traditional television, as I call it. I'm a bit older, so my terminology is a little bit in the past, but it all means the same thing.
I've got my gray coming in too.
Yeah.
I don't think we're all right. We're right here.
Yeah. So the way people are consuming video is changing, and we know, I think, the official stat is something like 44% of people who are watching live sport are doing it through streaming, right? So you sit there and you go, well, gee, that's bad, that traditional viewership is deteriorating. Or you sit there and say, hey, what an opportunity we've got to use data and technology and be smart and target these people, because obviously we can, if you understand your customers, who's in market, where they are, what they're doing, you can serve them up with the right message at the right time. And it's all about one-to-one marketing. So that's what I see as this huge opportunity with the change of consumer consumption of media. I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as a great opportunity. But I would say at the same time, and you use the word balance, and that's what we talk about all the time as well, because you think about it, you've got this opportunity to talk to a broad range of customers that, okay, some of them may not be interested in your brand right now and may not be on your radar, but who knows in the future, and who knows if you put the right product and tell your story the right way. So that's really important to us, that traditional live sports viewer. But then people who are consuming media, via streaming, we're able to hit them. We're able to split messages. We're able to hit them at exactly the right time. We're able to increase the frequency at a lot lower cost as well. And to me, it's almost the perfect balance between building the brand and selling vehicles, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, right? So, I have a target, and I need to hit my target too. So that's how we're approaching it.
You shared that an interesting statistic: 40% plus of this live viewing now is coming on streaming, and then every year or every cycle that we see the rights come up across any of the big sporting leagues, we're starting to see new entrants in, and yet you can pick it up on your Amazon and you just mentioned Twitch, which is really interesting. I'd be curious, what other platforms or can you point to anything that you feel has, not just over the last year with all the changes in behavior, but what is starting to rise to the top of consideration that maybe wasn't even there a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think we've worked, and this is not unique to us, but I think what we've worked really, really hard is social, because and it's interesting, we're just trying to take different approaches to social. So, another example, and it's kind of in the sporting realm, we revealed the Hummer, as I mentioned, in October. But prior to that, we were actually at last year's Super Bowl with the Hummer. And that's kind of a weird setup, that one, because the brief that we were given was, we want to announce this, but we don't want to say too much about it, and we don't have a car and we don't want to show it. So it's kind of an interesting thing on, how do you come up with a creative solution around that? And again, the team did a fantastic job, but we built it around LeBron James, right? So, when it comes to sport, is there a bigger name in sport than, well, probably this week, Tom Brady's probably bigger right at the moment. But LeBron James, huge, and not just in sport, he operates outside of the sporting culture as well too.
Yep.
So interesting thing about LeBron is when we wanted to get involved with LeBron, we looked at him as basically his own media channel. So he's got millions and millions and millions of followers on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, of course, and he's pretty prolific in the way that he operates that. So so that's another thing that another way we think about it. It's not just about what we can do with our social platforms, it's what we can do with our partners and amplify that. We have 4,000 dealers around the country as well too. And if you think about, all the social media that they do for their businesses, but their staff, their friends, their family, and you multiply that out. And that's another area that we've worked really, it's a little bit unique to the car business, I guess, but it's something that we've really tried to leverage. So give them, educate them, give them the tools, make it really easy for them. And I know when we did Hummer, we had the highest level of dealer engagement that we've ever had in terms of the tools that we offer too. So there are a couple of things we're trying to do and think differently around, the way things are changing.
Yep. When you mentioned the Hummer a couple of times there, it gets me thinking of the October event, and then we've been hearing a lot about, the company, the General Motors in general, taking on initiatives with electric vehicles and carbon neutral. It'd be interesting to hear what can you share with respect to what is the next big thing for General Motors, and whether it's related to your particular brands or what you can share more more generally, whether it be the transition to eco-friendly, those big corporate initiatives that you can share?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say is that, these aren't really new initiatives. It's interesting. We've been working on this, for many, many years. But the great news is people are really starting to take notice. And I think, the GMC Hummer EV, the world's first all-electric super truck, I think it showed just how cool electric vehicles can be. And that's what we really set out to do. And we thought, how can we turn this on its head and just show the capability that an electric vehicle has? And it was interesting, we did a lot of thought and research because a brand like Hummer obviously had some baggage. We're very acutely aware of that. And when we went to research clinics and spoke to customers, those that had owned them and those that hadn't owned them, about what they thought, at first, this idea was like really shocking to them. But then as soon as you said, well, it's fully electric, all electric, and it's going to be pretty remarkable, you could just see the smiles on their faces, and it just took all the negative away. And what that electric platform does is it makes the product legitimate, takes away any negative baggage, but it also gives it amazing capability, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. And the fact that we've put technology into the vehicle called crab mode, so the vehicle can drive diagonally. So when you do things like that, people start to take notice. So it's a great story about technology, but most importantly, I think it's a massive statement about GMC and GM more broadly about our intent. And this is the first of many, many electric vehicles that you're going to see from GM. And Mary Barra was on record, I think last week or the week before, talking about the fact that our goal is to eliminate all tailpipe emissions by 2035, which is a pretty bold statement. So you're going to see a huge amount in this space, and it is absolutely our focus in the days, weeks, and years to come.
Yeah, before we go into any questions, I was hoping we could spend a little time too, as you talk through all of the changes in media consumption and the dilution of a lot of the experiences that certainly the last year has really highlighted, but some of the genie's out of the bottle, right? Like a lot of what we're probably experiencing now is going to be, good chunk the norm, as opposed to just because of COVID. How much have you seen that general customer journey change? So you even referenced earlier, like last year when the platform was kind of pulled out from under us, but the dealers were closed. And have you seen that customer journey of making a decision on a vehicle significantly change? And then obviously you would have had to change your marketing and approach to them based on that?
Yeah. Obviously, people around the world, particularly in the US, they've started to rely more on digital platforms throughout the buying experience, and that was a trend that we saw. But not many people really wanted to do it from end to end, right down to delivery, basically almost being digital. But we have seen that spike, but we've seen a little bit of a moderation in that spike too. Now that people have gotten a bit more used to where we are from a COVID perspective. But I think it's changed forever. It's certainly, there's a lot of people that it's really opened their eyes to that opportunity and that need. And we're working on platforms and techniques and things like that to be able to make the most of it. I think the other thing that we've been doing a lot of work in is media buying. So, we've talked a lot about, how people are consuming media and the fragmentation, and it's more important than ever that we really know our customers. And we've built a proprietary platform for, it's basically a customer database. It's got a vast amount of information in it. We've been working on it for the last 2 to 3 years, and it's all about being way better and addressable. And we've worked it really hard. We've experimented a lot. We've learned a lot. trialed many things. Some things have worked, some things haven't. We're now in a really good space, we believe, and we're very confident of our capabilities now. Doesn't mean that we're finished. We've still got a long way to go, but what we're seeing is dramatically improved ROI. So that's really been our focus over the, probably the last couple of years, but through COVID, it's been accelerated. And the opportunity, I think, has been accelerated as well.
Right. Yep. So much transition of companies and the way they're communicating with customers, and some of it's probably for the good. Like some real direct personal experiences now being developed by necessity.
Yeah, it keeps everyone on their toes, and
Yep.
That's what I love about it. We're always questioning what we thought we knew. Are we sure that this is right? It makes you dig into the data more, which I've always been, big on, and it's great, for our team. A lot of young people can get really, they become experts very quickly. So I think it's flipped things on its head a little bit. I'm not going to lie. 12 months ago, I didn't know what Twitch was, right? So now I'm not an expert on it, but I've got a very good handle on it because we're spending a lot of money on that platform. So, so the world is changing, but I think in a lot of ways it's great for, it just gives us more opportunity.
Well, I'm getting flooded with a couple of questions here because I think you're getting people thinking a lot. I know, Isabel, you can keep us honest with time, but if I can get through a couple of these before I lose you, because this has been great, Phil. The first one, we've been hearing a lot lately, specifically around the Super Bowl with some recent advertiser announcements, that it's more important than ever to delight fans and provide humor or a moment of joy with them through advertising and branding. How do you look at that with respect to the current climate we are in today? Yeah,
look, we're not in the Super Bowl this year. We've been, in the last few years, we've been, three, four times. We're just the timing doesn't align. But we'd be, from a Buick GMC perspective, I know GM more broadly, some of our other brands are actually in there. I think my view on Super Bowl is it really is a unique platform. It's like nothing else, not just on the scale, but what people think and what they're expecting. So it really gives you license, and I think you really have to be really entertaining to engage people. So it gives you what we love about it. It gives you the opportunity to take a really, really unconventional approach, and it's all about making people smile or really connecting in a big emotional way. And in terms of what my thoughts on where people are at COVID, I think everyone wants a smile, right? So, and in fact, we probably need it more today than ever. So I think it's still a remarkable platform. And I think when you see the GM work and you see the Cadillac work, I think you'll find that it's pretty special.
Here's another one coming off of, so I'm going to show my age now.
Yeah.
You mentioned using TikTok and Twitch for vehicle launches. What can you share about how you are using those mediums to engage the next generation of Buick and GMC fans?
Yeah,
you use the eco-conscious message with that age group.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. I think those platforms are all about entertainment. So you've got to do things that entertain, and it is a bit of a balance. And I'd say it's a bit of a toe in the water sort of thing, because if you line up the age profile of those platforms with who we sell cars to, it is quite divergent, I would say. But again, it comes back down to balance, and we've got a job to do, not just to deliver sales and brand health today, but in the future as well. And I think that that's really, really important. But from our perspective, we think it's all about entertainment, because they are entertainment platforms, and we want to make people smile. We want them to get really engaged. So that's how we're approaching those platforms.
Gotcha. Let me get one more in. Is that okay with
good with me anyway?
Yeah. Till they just turn us off. I mean, that's the thing now. It's not even like they have to shoo us off stage. They just pull the plug and we're gone.
That's right.
Phil, you mentioned transitioning your brands to be known, specifically Buick, to be known as SUVs versus sedans, what has it been like guiding that evolution of brands with such a rich legacy?
Yeah, look, I think it's good and bad. I mean, Buick's a brand that's been around for many, many years. And I think, like a lot of brands, there's some really great things about it. And there's some things that we want to improve on. And I think, some of the negativity around the Buick brand came from, the big traditional sedans that people can't get out of their heads, that we really probably haven't done for a few decades, but it does take a long time, right? So I think this idea of transitioning to a range of premium SUVs is really powerful. And to be honest, we'd argue that we saw this trend to SUVs in the market before pretty much everyone in the market, and we started this a number of years ago. To be honest, we've moved to SUVs, and the customers are coming to us. So we think it's been great. So it's more profitable. There's more opportunities, and I think it just helps us position ourselves as a modern brand that sells great looking SUVs that are full of the latest technology. And that's really the message we're trying to get out there. And it's the beauty about that. It's the absolute truth, because that's what we are. We're just on a path to convince about 320 million Americans that's where we're at.
Right. It's always nice to have the added benefit of being true, right? Like it's just Hey,
not that the other things I've said aren't true. So let me be clear.
One last one. We'll finish on this, and then maybe just chat about the weekend we have coming up in the big game, just briefly. But has the acceleration in consumer streaming and OTT affected the way you view the media opportunity? And what do you see as some of the key benefits and challenges of OTT?
Yeah, I just think
last stinger for you.
No, it's good. Yeah, and I think I've talked a bit about that, during the discussion. And the opportunity is to use data to understand the customers better and basically, get the right message at the right time to the right consumer, time and time again. And I think, as I said earlier, I see it as an opportunity, something to be excited about, not worried about the incremental fragmentation. I think it's a great opportunity, and we think we're at the forefront of that. We've invested a lot, not just money, but a lot of time. Like I said, we've tested and tested and tested, and we think we're in a really good space. So I think that you're going to see a lot more opportunity as we move forward to get better and better as marketers. So I see it as exciting. So
it's great.
It's great. It's great to be involved in the industry in 2021, if you ask me.
Well, you got a front row seat of a lot going on. So it's been great to get your perspective today. So thanks, Phil. And, enjoy the upcoming weekend. It's always nice to hear that we've transitioned an Aussie rules guy into an American rules football guy. So I hope you enjoy the time. I might not get behind your Cowboy, like being a Giants fan, but regardless, we got a great game coming up this weekend. Enjoy it. And thanks again, man. It's been a real pleasure kind of chatting with you, and we appreciate you sharing all the details you did.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's always great to be able to talk about Buick and GMC, and I can't wait for the game. I'm super excited.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.